Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hi, this is Pat Fraley, purveyor of Duck, Dog, and Villain voices, and you're watching Altered Geek.
Hello and welcome to Alter Geek Unlimited. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me this week is...
Michael Boothninja Powers.
Howdy, howdy.
Howdy.
Yes, I'm back for this week, and then I won't be here next week, but...
That's okay. You're back for this week, and we don't have a lot to show for it.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all right. So what have you been up to?
Oh, I'm so tired. It's house stuff. Because I just got my house last Thursday.
Congratulations. Round of applause.
Yes, thank you.
All that entails.
Yes. Now I'm figuring out all the little stuff that you overlook when you're browsing at houses.
And the stuff you don't realize when you actually get a house versus an apartment.
Yeah, I've figured that out too. Especially the fact that how much money you can dump into a thing. That's why I made some kind of a comment on Twitter earlier saying that I feel like my life is following this path of what's that movie that Tom Hanks was in? Oh yeah, Money Pit. Because I'm watching my savings go lower and lower and lower.
That's okay. That's what savings is for. To be lowered on something like this.
And I kind of had to justify it to Mary that, we're increasing the value of the house by adding these things to fix it.
Right. I try that every once in a while. It works. It works to a certain extent, and then they wise up. So use it while you can.
Well, it works for the fact that we have a kid, so it's extra leverage. Because she's of the same opinion. The carpet in this house is so disgusting. We tried using our steam cleaner on it the first night we were there.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot get anything out of that carpet. It's like they laid it down 20 years ago and never cleaned it or anything.
Ugh.
So like you can see like animal stains and food stains and burden stains and stuff, and it's pretty much in every room.
Yummy.
I tried running the steam cleaner over it. The water came out like black and made no difference on that spot in the floor. So we were like, yeah, we're not ruining our steam cleaner. So, fast forward to almost a week later, and last night we were at Lowe's for like 2 hours and ordered carpet for. Now, mind you, this is a 4-bedroom house.
Mm-hmm.
We have a upstairs living room and a downstairs living room, and the downstairs is much larger. The upstairs one and the dining room had laminate floor already in it from the previous owners. We're going to install ourselves the laminate in the up the stairs and the hallway on the upstairs and our bedroom next week.
Okay.
Because it was cheaper for us to buy the laminate and do it ourselves than to pay them, because I think it was like $1.68 a square foot, which the square footing thing is always funny because they're like, oh, it's so low. And then when you actually consider what an actual square foot is and like a linear foot and everything, it's tremendously larger. So they make it seem like it's going to be cheaper than what it is. And then they figure the room size and you're paying hundreds of dollars. But we're going to do that next week. We're going to have carpet installed in the 2 kid rooms and that basement living room, which is all disgusting. My office has carpet, which eventually we're going to rip up and put linoleum in so that my chair glides nice and easy across it.
Okay.
So like those are the projects going on. Plus, it's got like original linoleum in the bathrooms, and I've entered a project of redoing the drain and the trip lever for the drain in the bathtub. Because they have the mechanism there, but it does nothing.
So you can't do baths.
Yeah, and kind of need to do that with having a kid. So I gutted it yesterday, like most of it out of there, and it was corroded because they didn't seal it up right, and they didn't have anything actually doing anything in there because they were grown adults, and so it was, showers. So I'm trying to get the drain piece out of the tub so I can put the new one in.
That's not fun. I tried doing that in my house and I gave up because I realized we don't take baths. We don't have children.
Yeah,
I still have all the stuff to replace it, but no.
Yeah, I bought the thing to replace it, and it's like $12 for that, and it includes the lever, but it doesn't include the mechanism that attaches to the lever and goes down the pipe that allows it to block or unblock the water. So I had to buy that separate, as well as the seal that goes around the mechanism. So it's slowly like little money pieces here or there, and I've already had to nail the shingle, or not the shingle, the downspout back to the side of the house at one point because the wind had knocked it loose, and they have all the water running along the side of the house with no extensions, and we've painted 4 rooms already since we've had it a week.
Okay.
Both coats in the rooms. And we're stopping on the paint after that for a while. And because the rest of the house, like the bathrooms and the other stuff, are going to need it still. And a lot of ghetto-rigged electrical and cable lines throughout the house that I'm slowly ripping out as I go into new rooms. So I think when I have Comcast... Yeah, I think when I have Comcast come out, I'm getting a linebacker and having them rewire my cable because they have it snake through the carpet or through random walls, and it's not how it should be.
That's always fun.
And then this weekend we get to do the major move with the U-Haul truck, so we've pretty much got all the boxes over already. Like in preparation, we've disassembled just about everything. So that's what I've been up to for the last week.
All right. Myself, I have not been doing too much other than work. Other than working and hanging out with my wife. We've been rewatching Scrubs. I've been rewatching Scrubs. I believe this is her first time watching it. We're enjoying that. I don't know. I haven't really been doing a lot of gaming. I did catch a movie this week, but I'll talk about that at the end of the show, and I could do that because this podcast doesn't get released until Friday.
Yo.
Yep. So, but other than that, I've just been trying to get caught up on various TV shows here and there because I have a whole backlog that I'm still wading through from all the comic book reading I did in November and December. So I have like a nice backlog of TV shows to watch. But I guess something I can kind of toot my own horn on is that, side note here, Almost Human was finally canceled by Fox.
Can't say I didn't see that coming.
Me either, but it's kind of disappointing. It's one of those things now where I think like on an upcoming episode, maybe we should talk about like shows that, Netflix or Hulu or should revive, or shows that we would like to see them revive. I think that would make for an interesting conversation. Since like original content is taking off on those services, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of bummed to see it happen because I did like the show. I liked you saw it and it looked expensive, which is probably the most disappointing thing about the show, because it was like, there's no way that this stays on the air with as expensive as it looks. So, but it's sad to see it go. Other than that, I don't really have anything to talk about. Oh, no, there is. I'm sorry. I am sidetracked by something that we'll talk about later in the show.
Yeah, not surprising. I'm still adding things to it.
I don't know. I wasn't sure if you had. I kind of wanted Danner to be here because I wasn't sure if you had seen the latest trailer for Days of Future Past. I know some of our listeners have seen it because I've seen like their like Twitter reactions to it and stuff like that. I finally saw it yesterday, in between a couple episodes of Scrubs. I was just browse the trailer section on my Apple TV, and I watched the new Days of Future Past trailer, which, for those counting at home, there's only 2 trailers. So if you've seen 2, then you've seen both of them. I feel like, in a way, I kind of feel bad for Bryan Singer, and not for what he's in the news for right now, but I feel bad because he started off this, with the exception of like Blade and like the Richard Donner films, and Tim Burton's '89 Batman. Singer kind of brought, in my opinion, he relaunched the whole comic book franchise as a movie thing with X-Men.
Yeah.
And I feel like the way that he was able to do that is that he took the X-Men characters and he toned them down and put them in this real world precedent that has kind of seeped through almost all comic book movies since then. They're kind of grounded in reality, or how would these things be, how would these characters react in the real world or our world. And I feel kind of bad that he was kind of pigeonholed into doing that, and by doing so, he was able to introduce comic book movies to the masses, and it opened up the door for comic book movies to just like flood the market for the next, it's been like a decade and a half now since the original X-Men came out, so like almost 15 years now. And seeing the second trailer for Days of Future Past, it was kind of like, it seemed like he finally gets to make the movie that he probably wanted to make originally, but he couldn't do because it was too fantastic. Because you've had movies like Thor and Iron Man and the Avengers now. People are used to seeing these big spectacle comic book movies. And he's finally able to use the X-Men like the way they're meant to be used. And the only thing that really jumps out at me that I can kind of say is that Magneto like lifts up an entire, I believe it's a baseball stadium.
Oh yeah.
And like throws it. I mean, that's not something you would not see that in Bryan Singer's first 2 X-Men movies. Like, the audience wouldn't believe that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, he was just kind of, because the audience wouldn't believe that, 15 years ago, he kind of had to make, that's why he made the movie that he made then, but now he actually gets to make the movie that, should have been made. And I just thought that was really interesting to see, because it's nice to see the guy that kind of started it gets a chance to raise the bar, if you will. I mean, I don't know if Days of Future Past is going to be good, but it looks damn good. So
I'm excited to see the movie. I don't know how soon I'll get to watch it when it does come out, or but that movie definitely looks, to me, I honestly would rather watch that movie than watch, now that I don't love Spider-Man 2, or not 2, but just Spider-Man as well. But I find I enjoy X-Men more.
Oh, me too. No, I agree with you on that. I enjoy the X-Men characters and the movies more than the Spider-Man movies.
I think they're more action packed and more entertaining, and it's the variety that you get to see in it rather than pretty much just the back and
one
forth.
guy.
Because you have a lot of complicated characters as far as where they fall on the line of good or bad, and it's mostly like point of view and stuff. So it's I enjoy that. Plus, I especially for Days of Futures Past, I've read the comic, and enjoy it. Plus, it's time travel, and I
See,
just
I enjoy the time travel aspect of it too, but the comic, I think we talked about this before on this show. We talked about the Days of Future Past comic when they announced what the movie was going to be. And holy cow, it doesn't that the Days of Future Past story is so short. Yes, it has giant ramifications on the X-Men universe, but it is so short. I'm kind of surprised they were able to get like a, what I'm hoping is a 2.5 hour movie out of it. Um, but I mean, it's just really surprising. I will say this, and I think Danner would agree with me. Spoilers, but not really spoilers because I haven't seen the movie. I'm just taking a stab in the dark here. We all know that Age of Apocalypse is the follow-up movie to Days of Future Past. I am predicting, and as I said, I believe Danner would agree with me, that the young Xavier in Days of Future Past is going to die at the end of the movie. That's just my prediction. So I don't, because I don't know.
What makes you think that?
Are you familiar with Age of Apocalypse?
Vaguely.
Okay. For anyone that doesn't know, or maybe might be too young to know, Days of Future Past was not Days of Future Past. I apologize. Age of Apocalypse I believe it came out in, it was 1995. It was the Marvel event in 1995. Only it was an X-Men event, so it covered all of the X-Men books. Like the Avengers and stuff, they were kind of involved, but their regular line didn't have anything to do with it. Basically what happened, and the names and faces have changed, so I might get those wrong, but the overall plot will be correct. Xavier's son travels into the past and kills Xavier before he can form the X-Men.
Wow.
And what happens is it causes a ripple effect in the timeline. And when Apocalypse rises up and threatens humanity, the X-Men aren't there to stop him. So he ends up basically enslaving the world. And what happened is like all of the X books got new names, like all new titles. For like 4 or 5 months, I think. They all had new titles. Like Cyclops was a bad guy. Wolverine was, in a relationship with Jean Grey, and they were both agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Magneto was the leader of the X-Men, and he was a good guy because he took up Xavier's dream as his own in remembrance of his friend who died. Nightcrawler becomes like a murdering monster versus the holy, the Christian guy that he is. Beast, not being having to hold to no moral code or ethics, becomes Dark Beast, and he starts doing experiments on mutants, and basically takes them to their logical conclusion and stuff like that. And it's a dark, twisted reality, and it lasted for 4 or 5 months in the comic books. So, and that's the story. That's the story that they're going to try and tell in Age of Apocalypse. And cinematically, with what they're setting up with Days of Future Past, where they send Wolverine into the past to try and change the future, I think that somehow Xavier is going to end. It's not going to be Xavier's son that kills him in the cinematic telling of this story, but somehow Xavier will die at the end of Days of Future Past, setting up the events of Age of Apocalypse, which they have said takes place in the 80s. Okay. Where Days of Future Past takes place in the 70s. So I also think Danner has said like it's possible that Wolverine may end up killing Xavier. So anyways, that's just a little thing, because like I don't think they could go through and exist. I don't think Age of Apocalypse can be a self-contained story like from the get-go. Like I don't think you could open that movie with Xavier dying. I think it would be better to show Xavier dying at the end of Days of Future Past setting up the events in Age of Apocalypse. I think it would just flow better. And then at the
that
end
would
of
make
it,
a lot more sense.
and then at the end of Age of Apocalypse, you pull like a Back to the Future 2 thing where they travel back to the event in Days of Future Past and save Xavier from dying. Because that's kind of what happens in the Age of Apocalypse story anyways. A select group of mutants realize that the time continuum isn't the way that it's supposed to be, and they end up going back into the past again and stopping Xavier's son from killing Xavier. So that's just a little something that, Dan and I have been talking about with regards to these movies. So
I'll have to check that out.
It's an interesting story. And the coolest thing that I took out of it was for their, unlike the Ultimate Universe and like Marvel Zombies, and I think it's like, was it Marvel 1886 or something like that, where those movies or those comics are their own continuity, their own universe, if you will. The Age of Apocalypse was believed to have been an alternate reality to the 616 universe, which is the standard continuity in the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the alternate timeline that was created in Back to the Future when they lost the almanac.
Okay.
Instead of a completely new universe. So at the end of Age of Apocalypse, everyone just thought it snapped back to, the way the timeline was supposed to be. And to Marvel's credit, for 10 years, the Age of Apocalypse was not mentioned in any continuity, any universe, in Marvel Comics. It was not mentioned. So it's almost like it didn't happen. And then for their 10th anniversary, they actually revealed that the Age of Apocalypse was in fact a separate universe. Like it carried on after the course was corrected. So they did I think it was like either 5 or 10 issues. It was like a 10th anniversary Age of Apocalypse, and it showed, it introduced some of the newer, more popular characters in the X-Men universe, like in circa 2005, and how they would have appeared in Age of Apocalypse. So, like for example, X-23. In the standard continuity, she is a Hydra experiment. In Age of Apocalypse, they wanted to add her into the Age of Apocalypse storyline, so she ends up she's still a clone of Wolverine, but she was cloned by Dark Beast. Like she was one of his experiments. So it's a really neat twist on the characters too, because like I said, Cyclops is a bad guy, and he makes a way better bad guy than he does a hero.
Yeah, I could probably agree with that. I'm not the biggest advocate of his.
I hate Cyclops.
Yeah, he just seems kind of like a little bitch all the time to Wolverine.
It's my way or the highway.
Wolverine's like, bite me. I'll do what I want.
So. All right. Do you want to take a break and we can come back and talk about this little?
Yeah, that sounds good.
We'll
come back after this quick little ad and talk about this nifty little feature.
It's been 5 years, and the Geekcast Radio Network would like to give back to you. How, you may ask? Well, first of all, we're coming up with a brand new website to be launched June 1st, 2014. In addition to that, there'll be many new features for interactive abilities. So how do you enter into this magical celebration? Well, Geekcast Radio has a contest where you can win some awesome prizes, ranging from comics, Blu-rays, DVDs, trade paperbacks, and comics, and more. How do you enter? Write in your favorite stories of how the Geekcast Radio Network has affected you in the last 5 years, and how it's unleashed the geek in you. You can also enter by writing reviews on our shows on iTunes. For more information, visit www.geekcastradio.com and click on the banner. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.
All right, and we are back on the other side of whatever ad Steve deems fit to air in that spot. So you guys all seem to like it when we talk about TV. I know you guys like to hear about all the TV shows I am watching or not watching at the time. We do watch an eclectic variety of TV shows, so we thought I found some fun things. One I just kind of found like earlier today, and one I've been kind of holding on to for a few weeks. Was basically what I was distracted with at the beginning of the episode while Steve was talking about his house. First, the boring nitty gritty part of the whole thing. Gizmodo found an infographic. I don't know if they made it. Actually, I think it's a Nielsen infographic about the.
It is.
For some reason, this says top 10, but it looks like a list that's longer than 10 shows. It's a Nielsen infographic. It says top 10. How long will it take to watch different TV shows, different popular TV shows? So, for example, the TV show Sherlock takes about 14 hours from beginning to end. And on the other side of the scale, I mean, there are longer shows than this, but like 24, for example, takes 6 days and 2 hours to finish. So if you've watched 24 from beginning to end, you've forfeited 6 days of your life. Congratulations. So are there any TV shows on this list that you watch?
As far as the infographic?
Yeah, I see Big Bang Theory, but that's only 2 days, 13 hours.
Well, for the first image, I watched none of those shows. But for the second one that says the top 10, even though it's got more than 10 shows there.
Yeah, I think the first one is meant to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, the first picture is not even 10 episodes. So whatever. I don't know what the heck's going on with this graph. It doesn't make any sense.
They're dumb. Yeah. The other one I only watch. I only watch Big Bang Theory. And How I Met Your Mother. Sometimes I'll watch that, but it's not one I'm like I'll sit and watch. They all seem like throwaway episodes to me. So
you watch it when it's on. You've never watched it from beginning to end. No.
So it's more of those. Just because it's on and I'm waiting on another show and flipping channels, I'll sit there and watch it.
Okay. So now we've got the fun, interactive portion of the show, and we'll put a link to this in the show notes.
Yes, we will.
Because this is kind of it took Steve and I a while to start this show because we were playing around with this.
I'm sure your list is a hell of a lot longer than mine.
While you were talking, I went through my entire RSS feed that I have that automatically grabs shows, and I added all of the shows that I have in that list. So, basically, it is Sivakodali. I don't even know how to say it, so I'm going to butcher this. It's sivakodali.com/TV, and we'll have a link in the show notes. It calculates how much time you've spent watching all of your TV shows. Do you know how many you've entered in, Steve?
Roughly? I've entered. I've entered in about 50 shows.
Okay, yeah, I've entered in about. That's kind of creepy that we've entered in about the same amount. There are like a handful. These aren't all the TV shows I've watched. These are just the shows that I'm currently watching. What magic number did you come up with?
As far as what?
Like, how many days have you spent watching the shows that you...
So far, because I'm just below 50. I have 111 days, 21 hours.
Okay. Well, take solace in the fact that I'm still ahead of you. I'm at 164 days, 8 hours, and 10 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah. Wow. I'm disgusting. I'm a bad person.
So you've wasted about a third of a year.
That's it's almost over half.
Yeah, actually.
That is over half
Pretty
the year.
close.
And I'm sure I could figure. If I were to go through my entire hard drive of TV shows, I'm pretty sure the list will get a lot longer. Dang. So yeah, we'll have a link to the show notes for this, so you guys can like see it. It's neat. It's interactive. You just type in the name of the show that you're doing. You can just enter on the keyboard, and it keeps a running tab of each show that you entered, and it puts the show art down at the bottom of the screen, so it just kind of fills up with like cover art for all the shows that you watch. But it gets kind of addicting because you're like, oh, what about that one? Oh, what about that one? How many does that one add? And you did add in the Star Trek ones, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I was only able to add, realistically, I was only able to add 2 of those. I could probably do 2 seasons of Deep Space Nine, but that's about all of that I've watched. So, but is there anything interesting that you've seen on the internet that you want to bring up?
I've been kind of watching some of the trailers and some of the random things popping up, like earlier, everybody was kind of making a big deal out of the A113.
Okay, I know that's
inside
a Pixar
joke of Disney.
Well, yeah, I knew that. That's like you can find A113 in almost every Pixar movie. I think it's the license plate on the pizza truck.
Yeah, there's actually a website that they have every reference. It goes back to like even Lilo and Stitch, and like it goes back to mid '90s.
Wow.
It's kind of wild seeing how often that pops up, because I know a lot of the Pixar, they have like John Ratzenberger and as a voice in all of them, or they have some form of something from any of the Pixar films kind of cross-contaminating each other.
Yeah, usually it's the next movie. The next movie has something in the current movie. Like in Up, I cannot remember the name of the pink bear in Toy Story 3.
Yep.
He's in Up.
He's also in Monsters, Inc.
The first one?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep, he's in Boo's room.
I didn't know that.
It's either
one.
Boo's room or the simulation room.
I didn't know that one.
He's in there.
Have you seen the meme about the toilet seat cover and it's Sully's the texture for Sully's fur, the turquoise and purple.
Mm-mm.
It's pretty funny. It has something to do with Randall saying about how humans capture monsters and skin them and use them for upholstery, and Sully says like no, and then it shows a picture of the I think it's the toilet seat cover from the Toy Story short, where they're having the party in the bathtub, and the toilet seat cover is Sully's fur.
Wow.
Which is just kind of funny. And you know what? It's been so long since I've seen Monsters Inc. I don't even know if that's an actual line from the movie. But it was pretty funny to look at it because it's like one of those, whoa, I never noticed that. So
I guess we could go to I don't know if there's maybe listener feedback.
There was some stuff. Let's see. Super Film Fan 98. Well, one of the things we brought up last week was the coming Netflix price increase from, I think it's going from like $8 to like $9 or $10. I don't think they've actually said what it is yet. And so we posed the question about how much would you pay for a service like Netflix, or how much would you pay for like a streaming content service? No one actually came out and really answered that question, but Super Film Fan 98 chimed in with, I still think Netflix is an amazing deal with the price increase, considering how much you get for your money, and if they continue to make shows like House of Cards and Orange is the New Black, I'll continue to pay. I'm still one of those fools who gets DVDs in the mail from them. I don't think you're foolish for getting stuff in the mail from them. I mean, I always loaded up my queue for Netflix stuff, and I would always forget to send the DVD back. So like, they wouldn't cycle out fast enough for me to actually like have the DVD stuff. Like, I would never remember to put them back in the mailbox.
Nice.
I mean, I always returned them, but it wasn't like fast enough for me to like, go through my queue in any meaningful amount of time. So, but what's weird about in Netflix streaming is that there are movies on there that I want to watch, but I won't watch them unless I can watch them on Blu-ray. Because it's like one of those things where it's like, I want to watch this movie, but I want to experience it the best way possible. And that's not on Netflix streaming. I do agree, House of Cards and Orange is the New Black is great. And I'm also looking forward to all the Marvel content that is coming to Netflix. And a brief update on that. Marvel has said that all of the Netflix shows will hit all at the same time. So you can binge watch all five series at once. Now, whether that proves to be true or not remains to be seen, because Daredevil is supposed to hit next year, and Daredevil is really the only one that they've like talked about. Obviously, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones is coming along with the Defenders, but they've really only been talking about Daredevil. So take the whole, all five series are coming at the same time with a grain of salt. The other news about that is that they all take place inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it'll be interesting to see how like the Netflix show crosses over with the ABC series, or with the silver screen component to it as well. So, do you have anything to say about the Netflix price hike? Would you pay $10 for Netflix, or?
Honestly, I probably would, but my only problem with Netflix is it doesn't seem like they rotate stuff out often enough.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean, like, I had Netflix for years, and I think January we finally canceled it because nothing really was coming to it new. I'd already watched all the TV shows I wanted to watch that was on it. And the same thing with the films. It didn't seem like they were getting rotated out enough, or that there was enough. I mean, yeah, there's a huge library and variety on there, but it seems like a lot of the stuff either took forever to get on there, or it took forever to get the new seasons of stuff.
Yeah.
Or it just, I think that they were, between the losing some of the momentum on their streaming and a lot of the deals, and having to come up with new ones, and I didn't see a reason to pay for it anymore. Just because, I mean, it either takes 6 months to a year for them to add more.
Yeah, I can see that.
It got kind of old to me. After a while, I just started either watching it on demand on Comcast, which is provided, or if I want to get something and blitz through it and not have commercials, or to be as close to being Netflix as possible without it. I torrent them, but for the TV stuff. But
speaking of that, there's something I want to share when we're done with the reader comments. There is one other thing I want to share. I don't condone it, but I want to share it because I think it's kind of neat.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I made the comment last week that half of Netflix is crap. Like to any given person, half of what's on Netflix is crap. I'm not saying like like, there are movies that I think are on, there are movies or TV shows on there that I think are crap, but to another user, those are probably awesome, and the stuff that I like is probably crap to them. So, like, to any given person, like, half of whatever's on Netflix is crap. So, Freddie Savage brought up the Almost Human getting canceled, which we talked about a little bit ago. He also questioned about if there has been something since Lost that has been a successful J.J. Abrams TV show. And the guy has thrown a lot of TV. He's like produced a lot of TV shows. I don't think he's been like the showrunner for a lot of things, but he's produced a lot of TV shows since Lost, and a lot of them don't seem to stick. However, two that I will, get behind are Person of Interest is I think really good. I do enjoy Person of Interest. It's a really cool show, especially if like you're into that whole like government spying on you type stuff. If that's like you're paranoid about that, or you think that kind of the constant surveillance stuff can be neat. It's a really cool show the way they use that. And Fringe, which I mean it's not on the air anymore, but it started in the tail end of Lost and went for 5 seasons on Fox. Of all TV show networks. That was actually a pretty decent show after it got out of the first season. But that first season sets up a whole lot of stuff for the next 4 seasons. So, yeah, he's been a hit or miss guy because he does throw a lot at the wall to see what sticks. But at least he keeps trying, and he comes up with some pretty interesting things. Another nod towards Person of Interest, though, is it's not just a J.J. Abrams show. It was created with, and some episodes are written by Jonathan Nolan, who is the brother of Christopher Nolan. So imagine like Batman without the cape and cowl.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that before. That that's how Caviezel is.
Yeah, he's and Finch is basically Alfred.
Yep.
So it's a cool show. I enjoy it. Epicurious of Sidium is talking about the Batman Beyond short that Mike brought up last week. He said that Batman Beyond movie or short is a big tease. Really, it seems odd to make it so short. Of all the shows you mentioned, the one that I would be upset if they canceled it is easily Hannibal. I once thought that show was put on NBC without NBC even knowing. I could not figure out why else they would have it on their network. It does not have any generic style they love. Also, I believe Community did get picked up. I have not looked into that Epicurious, so if it has, I don't know. Obviously we go on to talk about how awesome Hannibal is in the comment threads. But what did you think of the? I still have not watched the Batman Beyond short.
I agree. It's not long enough, and it is a huge tease. I kind of wish it was at least the 3-minute type clip that the Bruce Timm Batman clip was.
Okay. Because
it at least gave time to set up part of a story and have a resolution, which this does it as well, but it's so short. I like it. It's to the point and everything. It's so short that it makes me wish that they just made a whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like just a whole 20-minute episode of it, just as kind of, something cool. It's almost got like a hard act feel to it.
Okay.
As far as the stuff going on. And then they touch on the multicultural base of Batman. Like all the different incarnations of Batman it kind of mentions.
I've seen the screenshots that Mike posted on Facebook and stuff. Like I've seen stuff from it. I just have not watched it yet. So mainly,
and they stayed true to the animation and everything else. I mean, it's really neat. But they added some of the new Batman Adventures Red Sky type series to it.
Okay. Well, see, one of the reasons I haven't watched it either is because I know Blasphemy, Batman Beyond wasn't that great to me. I mean, I thought the idea is cool, and the like the way it's all set up, but it's not. It's like Terry McGinnis is kind of like Miles Morales. He's not my Batman. Like Peter Parker is my Spider-Man. Bruce Wayne is my Batman. That's just kind of like the way I always looked at it. Yeah, it was a cool idea. It's a cool premise, but it's not, it's not Batman. It's not my Batman. So,
but it kind of makes me feel that they are trying to tie up some of that as well, though. But
didn't they do that with the whole epilogue thing? And
well, they did, but this is like somewhere. It feels like it came after season 3.
Okay.
But before epilogue. So I mean, it's almost like another one of those touching on Bruce's rogue gallery kind of thing, and how Hardak popped up for 3 episodes in the show, and one of them was Robo Batman, and that essentially has come to play in this as well. So it's kind of along the lines of having, the Ra's al Ghul and Talia, and then the Mr. Freeze and Bane and Joker, like all showing up and with Bruce being old.
Okay.
So I mean, and it was really neat. I was impressed by it, but again, I wish it was longer.
Hey, if I butcher this, I apologize. Haley Bailey says, I don't think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will get canceled. Maybe they will cut the budget for next season to bring it back. Maybe move it to Netflix. If they are smart, they will move season 1 to Netflix as soon as possible and promote the heck out of it. And maybe more people will check it out and be more inclined to watch season 2. The problem with getting anyone to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1 is that they have to wade through what amounts to 12 to 16 episodes of crap before the series is able to prop itself up against the events of Captain America Winter Soldier, and then it becomes awesome. How long it will remain awesome for, no one knows.
Now, have you watched this week's episode of it?
I have not. But
it's got an interesting twist to it. Not only with Agent Ward and I'm only going to say this. He's Hydra. He's definitely Hydra, but they make him seem like he's almost like partially sympathetic towards Skye. Like he truthfully gives a rat's ass about her.
Boo.
And then Deathlock is basically like, look, bitch, this is how it's going down. Because Garrett tells him, gives the orders and stuff. So, and then it's interesting the way that it's revealed that he's a turncoat to Coulson's team. Oh. And then, of course, you see Maria Hill in it, and that was a nice touch. Especially all the dialogue that she says was definitely it made me laugh because of how she delivered the lines and how certain things played out, because she's had, she was the second in command of S.H.I.E.L.D. under Fury. But it also, by the end, reveals the origins of who handled Tahiti.
Okay.
The Tahiti project. It's an interesting revelation.
Well, I have this weekend off from work, so I don't know that I'll be able to watch it, but I will definitely watch it before we record next week's stuff. So, I'm saying it's good now, but the problem is people have to wade through the first 12 to 16 episodes before it gets good, and that is a hard thing to ask anybody to do.
Which is why TFG and Mike had such a problem with it. Besides the fact of Coulson, I do agree that he gave it the first 6 episodes, which I honestly believe that by that point you should have already been well on your way into starting to get into everything.
Well, I mean,
instead of waiting until the 12th episode.
Well, to be fair, Arrow had the same problem. And it seemed like Arrow got better. Arrow got better once they knew that they were getting a second season renewal. And then they could just run crazy with it. And it got really good. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the ratings have declined. Winter Soldier comes out. All of a sudden, the show gets really good. And the ratings are still crap because everyone stopped watching the show because it took so long. Not only that, they still haven't renewed the damn thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes me wonder. I mean, I can't see ABC really killing it because Disney owns ABC and owns the Avengers, and it's like a bridge between the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, we've always said it'll probably get a pass because it'll just be funded by the movies.
Yeah, I mean that's it. It makes sense. I mean, it's like a run-on commercial where people can guest in it, but it keeps the storyline flowing between the films. But they even throw in a comment about they name drop Romanoff and Stark a couple times in the episode, which I think it would be kind of cool if they could get them in there.
See, that's the one thing I didn't watch the most recent one, but the one before that, when they were name dropping left and right, that was great. More name dropping, more world building. I've said it before, like on MWire, on here, like I'm all about the world building, and that's really weird considering the movie that comes out this weekend that does it very poorly. But I feel like the Marvel stuff, the Marvel Studios films have always gotten the world building right, in my opinion. The more name dropping that goes on in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the better I feel that it gets because it's like it does make it more connected to the bigger picture. That's something that's also sorely lacking in the first half of this season.
One of the comments that I like about Coulson to Maria Hill, because in Cap 2 she's working for Stark by the end, and then they drop that tidbit in there, and like to the effect that the only reason Stark's not getting harassed for the S.H.I.E.L.D. thing is because he's got all the money to get all the lawyers to pony up in front of him.
You know what? Okay.
And then she talks about working for Stark, and Stark's private security company, which leads me to believe that Stark may be the new head of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the new S.H.I.E.L.D. But I mean, they haven't completely revealed, that S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to be around, but I can see that happening. And then you have Coulson saying to Hill that, say hi to Stark for me. Oh, wait, yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the show. Did you see, was it you that posted the thing on Facebook or reposted the thing on Facebook about Stark dropping the ball on the whole Hydra thing?
Yeah, I think I did. I found that.
The subtitle for the scene was, in such and such amount of time, I'll know all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s dirty little secrets. Mm-hmm. And it's like, drop the ball big time on that one, didn't you?
I found that really dumb.
I find it dumb just from a continuity standpoint, but then again, it's the Avengers, so I'm not not that worried about it. I mean, there are other things about that movie for me to not like, other than continuity. But however, I'm wondering if Hydra hid from Fury, so it seems like they could have hidden that stuff on private servers that aren't used by S.H.I.E.L.D. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just because he hacked into S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't mean that that's where Hydra's stuff was. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to correct the continuity of the movie because Lord knows I don't want to correct anything about the Avengers, but it's just it seemed in my mind, especially since Tony even brings up the idea of ghost drives in the first Iron Man, where there's like a file. He's got like a server inside of his own company that is like ghosted that only he can see. It would almost make sense that Hydra's got the same thing, even if their stuff isn't even stored on Shield servers. So which it does it for something like that. It seems like they would not be stored on Shield servers. So, but
which could explain, with if Stark's having this security company and has a more advanced version of Jarvis, how the Ultron thing would take place in Avengers 2.
Oh yeah, I mean after
and with the especially with having Shield's dirty secrets out there and
well, rewatching the Avengers and like rewatching Avengers half of Iron Man 3 because I tried watching it with the commentary track on and the commentary track blows. And Cap 2, I definitely can see where Ultron is going to come from. The problem is it's not as in your face as like the plot thread for phase 1. Like the plot thread for phase 2 has been very, very thin.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not on the. It doesn't, at least to me, it doesn't appear like I know what's coming because I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. Like I know what keywords to look for. Like they're talking about like the satellites in Cap 2 and why those are important, and Tony stealing all of Hydra or all of Shield's information in the first one or in Avengers and stuff like that. I see how the character of Ultron can come to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe sans Hank Pym. But I know that because I know the comic book origins of the character. And those are all such subtle nods. They're not like there isn't the physical object like the cosmic cube was in phase 1 for the audience to follow from movie to movie to movie. Like it's more in phase 2, it's more ambiguous. It's more just people mentioning certain things or talking about certain things in a certain way that people that know who Ultron is or what it is, it kind of just cues them in to how that fits into the puzzle. And that's not, that to me just doesn't seem very tangible to the mainstream movie audience. But the movies are still good and the mainstream audience still likes them. So Marvel gets to keep telling their story and spinning their yarn. It just doesn't seem as, it's clear to me, but I'm trying to, if I look at it from the mainstream movie audience, it doesn't seem very clear what's going on. So it'll be I'm really interested to see how the Avengers 2 plays out, because holy cow, the movie's either gonna be really fast paced or really long.
Oh, I think it's gonna be really long.
But I know that they cut 30 minutes out of the Avengers just to get it to 2 hours. So I mean, and we're a year away from that. So I mean, we'll get to see what happens. All right, I got one thing I want to throw in here at the end, and then if you want to, we can wrap it up. Because we brought up BitTorrent a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And we brought up about how Netflix doesn't always rotate their content out with like the newest stuff. And some people are kind of, there might be paranoid of BitTorrent. I understand BitTorrent can be scary and this, that, and the other thing. I do not condone this in any way, but I think this is really neat. Have you heard of the Project Popcorn Time?
No.
Okay, I'm going to put a link in the show notes. You can look at it if you want, or I'll put a link in Skype, and you can look at it if you want, and you can decide whether or not you want to put it in your show notes.
Okay.
Or I'll just, we're going to talk about it on here. So if the listeners want to track it down themselves, it's called Popcorn Time. It was, I don't know who it was developed by, but what it is, it provides a Netflix style interface to torrents. And it's all like the latest stuff. So for example, you could watch The Winter Soldier right now at home if you wanted to. And I have not been able to figure out exactly how it works because I do not believe it does not. It's not like a normal torrent. It does not download a file to your computer. It streams the file to your computer. And so,
Wow.
like, once the episode is over or once the movie is over, the file is like gone. Like you do not physically download that file. So obviously, there's all kinds of like legal implications behind this. And if you're not worried about that kind of stuff, go ahead, check it out. If you are worried about it, don't check it out. Obviously, the MPAA and some other things are trying to shut this project down, but it keeps changing websites and it keeps moving, and people keep working.
Kind of like Pirate Bay.
Yes, but people keep working on the project, and the app is really slick. It's really easy to use. It presents a Netflix style interface. I don't know if you've went to the webpage for it or not, but it shows like the cover art for like The Walking Dead, and you click on that, and it asks you, okay, what season of The Walking Dead do you want to watch? And then you go to like season 3, episode 1, and it tells you how many healthy torrents there are out there for it. And you select the one with the most available like seeders, and you click play, and the movie starts buffering. The episode starts buffering, and then it starts playing.
Huh.
It's kind of neat. It's kind of neat, kind of scary. I can understand why television companies don't like it, and I can understand why the MPAA doesn't like it. I myself have not used it. I've shown it to my wife. I think the idea behind it is absolutely crazy because there's a lot of new movies on there, like a lot. Anyways, that's the last thing I wanted to throw out there. Popcorn time. So
I'll probably try it out.
I mean, you can just like load. It's a really small program. You can just load it on your computer and just like look at it. I mean, you don't actually have to stream anything. You can try streaming something, just so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's neat. So, but yeah, that's all I got. So,
Yeah. As far as I know, I don't think there's a whole lot of other stuff going on. I know they've had more. Oh my God! Casting news for Batman, Superman. You can tell how enthused I am. My give a shit meter is very low right now.
I'm rooting for it. I mean, I don't know who. I know that they supposedly cast Cyborg, but I didn't bother to look up who they cast as Cyborg, and I have a feeling a lot of these roles are just going to be like bit roles. And actually, I kind of got this out of a comment section on a post that I saw. I can't remember what site it was, and I don't know who to credit for, but this is not my original idea. The commenter brought up the idea that maybe DC's approach to their comic book movies, unlike Marvel's movies where they do like the smaller singular movies and then they have like the big culmination like Avengers movie, like they theorized about the idea that what if DC's approach was to make their movies Justice League movies. And the guy brought up, he hypothesized that, then they can just decide, you've got, this movie needs like Superman and Wonder Woman and the Flash, but it doesn't need Batman. And then maybe the next one needs like, Batman and Green Lantern, and, like they can use any combination of the characters they want. They're just all like subtitled differently. So, it wouldn't be like Justice League and then like, a Batman, a Superman, a Flash movie. It would just be like Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earth or Justice League Doom or like something like that. And they can just cherry pick what characters they want to have in the movie versus doing all these smaller singular ones, which the guy also brought up that it would allow them to make a movie every 2 or 3 years, and they would be big event movies instead of smaller, low-budget movies.
I could get behind that.
It was just a theory that the guy threw out there, and I was kind of like, that actually makes a little bit of sense. Because if you make a Batman versus Superman, yeah, everyone's thinking of it as like Man of Steel 2, but if it's Batman versus Superman and you have like Cyborg and Wonder Woman in there, you don't really know what kind of story they could just tell a story that is just a story. They could just be telling a story, not a continuation of Man of Steel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
which again, I'd be fine with it.
I think that'd be really neat. I mean, if there's like a hint of continuity between the movies, that's great. But at the same time, is there we get like the Flashpoint paradox is a story that they could tell. Like, how cool would that be? Like a live action Flashpoint paradox, or like a live action Doom, or I just think that if that is their approach, which, getting excited about it probably means that it's not going to be their approach. But if their approach was just to tell the bigger group spectacle movies, I think that'd be a cool way to go.
It at least put them on a different plane.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing field from Marvel.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, right now, I still think Marvel's going to mop the floor with them.
Well, yeah, because it appears, on the surface, it appears like they're trying to compete directly with Marvel. But
which they more than likely are.
Right, but if they're going down this hypothetical path of just making the big event spectacle movies and telling Justice League stories, that's something different, I mean, yeah, maybe you'll get like the Batman, Superman, maybe you'll get those like standalone movies, but at the same time, maybe you'll just get big spectacle movies. I don't know. It's just another way to think about it. It'd be interesting to see what you guys, the listeners, think about that guy's theory. Do you think he's full of crap or smoking something, or do you think he might be on to something as far as DC's approach or Warner Brothers' approach to their comic book movies?
Now, mind you, on the other hand, I have no confidence in Warner Brothers as far as how many films they have or how many characters they have supposedly showing up in this at this point.
Yeah,
but I'm still going to give it a shot because I love watching superhero films, so it doesn't really matter.
I don't know. I can't pan. I mean, Snyder did pretty good with Watchmen, and that was an ensemble cast. And the players in Watchmen were designed to be takeoffs of DC characters. He did all right with that, and the Avengers didn't turn out. I mean, I know Snyder didn't do Avengers, but Avengers is an ensemble cast, and it didn't turn out poorly. I mean, I like Zack Snyder's movies. I don't think he hasn't done a movie that made me go, oh. Now parts of it, like, I like the individual vignettes of Sucker Punch more than I like the movie as a whole.
I agree.
But, that's neither here. I mean, he made awesome. He's really good at action. I mean, he's proven that over and over and over again. But so and David Goyer was, he's one of the driving forces behind Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, and he's still on board. And I like Man of Steel. I mean, Snyder proved to me that he can make a Superman movie, or at least a Superman movie that I want to see. So there isn't anything about Man of Steel 2, or I'm sorry, Batman vs. Superman that I've heard that I haven't liked. And the fact that Justice League is kind of shooting back to back with it, and it's Zack Snyder directing that again, I'm cool with that too. So
I'm fine with him doing both. I'm not a huge fan of like the films he's done, but I Man of Steel, I liked it for what it was, but I don't particularly care for it, and it has nothing to do with Superman doesn't kill, because I could care less on that.
I still maintain the fact that Superman did not kill. Clark Kent killed.
Which is why he has to adopt the personality of Superman.
Yes.
To hide his sins of being human.
Precisely.
Makes sense to me, anyway.
Well, that's something for you guys to ponder, listeners.
Yes. So, yeah, if there's anything you guys want us to bring up, I don't know. I'm toying with after I get my office set up. I'm going to get a nice because of the lighting in this particular room that my office is. I'm going to set up a green screen and try to, being that I'll actually have a place to, hang it up. I'm going to try and do that so I can try and do some video as well.
Yay!
Yay! So it should be interesting. And then I kind of have a question, and then I'll close it out. How would you set up your geek room if you got to set up an office, like or a room, more or less? I'll have more info when I get mine set up, or at least partially set up.
All right. Everyone gets to play Susie Home Decorator.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not, just, I mean, like, what kind of stuff would you put out, and for display? And, like, I have some movie posters. I have some figures. I have those DVD backer boards that they have at the DVD stores or at the old Blockbusters that nobody sees anymore. Yes, I have those. I'm debating putting some of them up on the wall.
All right.
So I think that about rounds it out this week. So thank you as always for joining us here on Altered Geek Unlimited. You can contact us in the following ways. Call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. You can email us feedback@geekcastradio.com. Visit the episode on the website, geekcastradio.com. You can find us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can get a hold of us on Twitter @GeekCastRadio, #AlteredGeek. My Twitter handle is @SCP21, and yours is, sir?
@Boothninja81.
So, as always, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.